Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about curiosity and DNA, and possibly what happened, my intuition about the beginning. Uh, this is what I had in my mind. Is that all right? So we created this planet, right? We got to this planet, and it was like all these different extraterrestrials. We all went there, and we were like, I try to think of what feels innate and natural, and that's to be curious, kind, but curiosity, science. Science excites me. Science explains stuff. Science is like where it's at. You know what I mean? Um, Curiosity is a real big one, though. I mean, obviously, children are curious. Scientists are curious. We're curious. We're always curious. We're always checking people out. We're always looking at facial features. This is something that we do, is that we analyze a situation whether we realize it or not. Now, what I think might have happened back, way back, is that we saw these different extraterrestrials and we were like, hey, I'm really curious about your DNA. Like, what makes you work? We've got all these different species, but the ones that come to mind are like maybe like reptilians or I don't know. I'm thinking about my star family, and I think about something that appears to be aggressive and something that appears to be very gentle. Now, I think what happened was we were really curious. We were like, well, what makes your skin tick? Like, what do you eat on your planet? What do you do? How do you feel? And I almost feel like it became this dynamic, this push-pull dynamic of attraction, because it was so different and they were so curious about it. And I think we got so curious, in fact, that we shared DNA. Was it consummation in a way? Was it actual sex? Was it just a laboratory experiment? I honestly don't really know, but I think that a meshing of those DNAs happened one way or another, and I think what happened was, because it was so different, that the chemicals that, or the DNA that was activated and unlocked in one and the other, ended up feeling really strange. And I think maybe it kind of freaked their systems out, and they were like, wait a minute, whoa, I don't really know about this. Something feels really weird. Something feels really difficult. I'm not really sure what I'm going through. Curiosity brought us to this moment of like, whoa, what happened to my DNA? We were just really curious. And then I think maybe that like sent a message out to their individual planetary alignments, and then I think maybe planetary alignments, like their actual species, got involved, and they were like, hey, what happened? I'm almost thinking like maybe they were two children, or two, I guess children by their species means, and maybe the messages were misconstrued, because it's like miscommunication is like the number one thing that usually ends up causing a problem, is that the miscommunication, trying to understand what happened to the DNA and that kind of body, and trying to understand what happened. But I feel like some sort of miscommunication might have happened, because if you look at like what we do now, I try to look at what we do now, and what I feel innately is that we are curious about DNA. We are curious about changing things and trying new stuff out, and trying to create things. Like, we are little creators. This is what we enjoy the most, is production. This runs real deep in our blood, because we see it, we feel it. It's innate. It's totally innate in our DNA, and I think that's what happened, is because that's the first thing that pops into my mind, is that we became so curious, and then we experienced it, and we were like, whoa, I don't know about this. My system feels weird. And I think that might have been the snowball effect that possibly caused this duality, dual opposite. However, I feel like with all of this time, both sides are starting to realize that, like, hey, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from fighting. I'm exhausted from battling. I'd rather just balance now. Because I can see from both sides of the spectrum that it simply isn't comfortable anymore. This isn't comfortable anymore. So we already have all of these extraterrestrials' DNA inside of us, and we're starting to realize that we already are balanced. We simply had to balance our emotions by coming together on the subject, instead of trying to be so separate with the subject, because it's simply not comfortable for anybody because that's totally realized, not only in myself, in the world, and everything, is that balance is just so much easier. Getting along is so much easier instead of trying to fight it, because I mean we already have a DNA. We already have it. It's all about just emotions and coping with the emotions of it and being like, hey, you know what? This has been a long fight. Let's just have some tea. Let's just have like a cookie or something. Let's just chill out, because it's just not worth battling anymore. It's just exhausting resources, and it's uncomfortable for everybody involved. You know what I mean? Especially when the truth isn't out there at its fullest potential. It's not out there. Like, it's out there, but it's not being revealed completely. But that's innately what I feel, is that it was just curiosity. I try to think the most positive thing possible, because I feel like children, it's where it's at. They're just curious. They just want to have fun. But sometimes, we see that things get out of hand. And I think that's probably what happened. Because it's like this age-old love story. Like, maybe they ended up falling in love. And, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why we keep making the same movies. There's a reason why we're obsessed with, like, this love's tale. You know what I mean? There's a reason that we are obsessed with that. That's probably what actually happened. It's probably that simple. Makes sense. I don't know, it makes sense. Okay, that's all I had to share for now. Thanks for watching.